Hello everyone, it's Linda Dolke. I'm a demonstrator with Stampin' Up here in Australia, and today I have something very cool. I'm actually very excited to record this video for you. I am pre-recording. At the time that you're watching this, it is Tuesday the 13th of May. If you're in Australia on the East Coast, it's 2 p.m. That's the time I go live normally here, but I'm pre-recording because I'm actually currently away attending the Stampin' Up incentive trip to Disney World, Florida this week. So I'm not there in person, but it's lovely to be with you on the video. And I am obliged to say whenever I talk about the trip that that only a small percentage of demonstrators earn the trip. So that is something that we're legally obliged to say. It's exciting because I have something special to do with my trip to show you today. I thought every year, whenever we have these trips, we have an option to participate in swaps. And I used to do both the card making and the 3D swap. They usually have two, but it's a lot of work. And usually I'm, trying to get through everything at the last minute before I leave. So in recent years, I've stopped doing the 3D swaps and I've just been doing the card swaps because I still want to be part of one. And I know not everyone does swaps. It's not a mandatory, you don't have to. But the reason I like to is when I come home, I have a whole bunch of different samples of different products that I don't necessarily own that I can then show you. And the plan is next Tuesday, it is the day I arrive home. So I'm hoping, unless I decide otherwise, I'm hoping that I'll be able to be with you live next Tuesday. If something happens and I'm unable to, I'll put up a notice about that. But my plan is to come back and show you the swaps I received in return. But today I'm going to show you the swaps that I have made for the trip. So if you're on the incentive trip and you don't like it being spoiled ahead of time, what swaps you're getting, maybe go and do something else right now because you won't want to see these. But I think most people, because it's only going to be a couple of days until we all get our swaps back. So if you don't mind that surprise being spoiled, or you don't care, well then it's fine to watch. All right, for everyone else, this is a special surprise. I don't know that I've done this in the past, but it makes a lot of sense for me to record a video about my swaps. Now you're thinking, what's that got to do with Technique Tuesday, Linda? I always go for these swaps. These are really special swaps. The caliber of people who are receiving them, their work, a lot of them are very, very well-known, very talented demonstrators. And I always make sure that my swaps are going to cut it in that very high group of people. So I make sure I do swaps that use quite a bit of technique. So we're actually going to be I'm going to show you the swaps and then we'll go through what techniques I've used on the swaps. Okay, so let's switch over to the desk. Of course, earlier this week on the 6th, last week, sorry, we got this brand new catalog released. How cool is it? I love this catalog. It's so fun. It's just got all these beautiful, beautiful things in it. Lots and lots of things. There's tools, there's special products. I mean, how beautiful is all the marketing and the way they're presented. The presentation is just so beautiful. It's just lovely. So it's a really great catalog, but this is not all the products they have on offer. There's also the online products, and there's some fantastic stuff in the online products. Don't think that that's where it's not the backup products in the online store. I think some of the best stuff we have is in the online store. So go check it out. I'm going to put my web address up on the screen for you. Here we go. It's www.lookwhatimade.com.au. Okay, that's my little blog. And on that page, you'll see a shop now button. When you click that, it takes you to the online store and you can browse, you can look at different things, you can click on them to see what there's samples for each product. It's very, very well done. And it'll show, if you pull up a product, it shows you what suite that product is part of, if it's part of a suite. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do on the online store that make looking at everything, getting all the information. There's a lot more information about the products online than there is in the catalog. Okay, so definitely go and check out the online store. All right. While you're there at that blog address, lookwhatimade.com.au, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter, okay, because I make sure that I send those out each week. I'm not sure whether, well, I guess by now, this is the second week of my trip. So I don't know yet whether I'm going, like, because now as I'm recording this, it's before the trip. So I don't know yet whether I'm going to be able to do weekly newsletters while I'm away, but I will definitely try and get at least one, if not two, out while I'm away for those 2 weeks. Okay, I'll take that down. So let's hide that. All right, and I'm going to move this out of the way. Actually, before I do, I'm going to show you the swaps. All right, let's do that. This is one of the swaps. You can see it's in its little plastic bag. I've got it actually all presented with the this is one of the actual swaps that will be in the bag. And you can see I've got a big bag of swaps. Here they are. So we deliver them to Stampin' Up in our bags. So they've got like a special, what they call the hospitality suite, which is a special room set up that you can go and meet with other demonstrators, see the corporate team, hang out with different people, and they've got usually, you know, refreshments in there. It's just a really casual vibe, and you can chat to other people. It's a great meeting. It's like a meeting place while you're on these trips. And they put up on the boards, they put up swaps. So we make 25 swaps for other demonstrators. Don't worry, there's more than 25 people getting in the swap. It's just that you only swap with 25 people, and then you may or may not. You shouldn't get your own swap back. One year, I'll tell you a funny story. One year, I actually got one of my own cards back. And I don't mean because I got my own swap back. A card that I had designed and put up on YouTube and done a tutorial for, somebody else had copied my card, and they copied it exactly. They didn't change it at all, and they made it as their swap, and I ended up with it. I'm like, how did that happen? Anywho, all right, so this is the swap that I'm doing, and I'll show you. This was my first mock-up when I first designed it. This is the one I first did, and there's a couple of differences. We should play spot the difference, shouldn't we? One's in a plastic bag. That doesn't count. All right, but you can see for this one, I used one of the textured notes dies. I actually decided that little bit of texture around the edges there, as nice as it was, it kind of distracted from this. So when I did them plain. I did them without that. And I actually used the Gallery Blooms frames dies to cut these rectangles. Okay, so the center one. And then I've used the Gallery Blooms stamps. So let me bring those in so you can see them. So this is the Gallery Bloom set. I love this set. Now, I've done a really different thing with this because in the catalogue, it's done in a very, very antique style. You might have seen I pulled it sort of out before and all of this stuff here. Okay, beautiful, but very antique-y. Okay, they've done it in, you know, the colours of the suite. It's actually up here. Can you see the colours up here? Peach Pie, Mossy Meadow, Lost Lagoon, Secret Sea, which is that really dark new charcoal navy, Crumb Cake, and Basic Beige. They're the basic colours in it. Whereas I've chosen a completely different take on it. I used these frames to cut out my rectangles. Okay, and then I made a black mat for it that's slightly bigger. And I didn't use any of the other dies in there. I did use the damask embossing folder. This is new. I used this. Okay. I didn't use the paper. So I wanted to do something completely different to what's actually shown in the catalogue. And so my pink and white theme. And I'm not really someone who does a lot of working with pink. So it's a little bit of a departure from the usual thing for me. All right, so this was my original, and then I decided not to do the texture, and I also decided that instead of the petunia pop, because there's petunia pop in the colouring here, but I decided instead of the petunia pop that I would actually do Memento Black, and I decided I preferred the black writing than the pink. Okay, now the other thing I did was I couldn't decide whether that this needed a black mat behind. So I did one with the black mat, and that looks nice too. Okay, so this is also really, really beautiful. Also, you can see I've taken the ribbon off this one. I'm not sure what I did with it. I might have added it to one of my other cards. So it's meant to have a ribbon on it as well. Let me quickly tie one and put that there, put it back because it does look better with the ribbon. This ribbon that I'm using, oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. Look at it. Look at it. Can you see it? Not very well. Sorry, it's a bit blurry, isn't it? It is gold striped mesh ribbon. Oh my goodness. It's my new favorite ribbon. This one's right up there with the white one with the silver edges, although I tried the white with silver initially. In fact, I had the white with the silver initially on my first card, this one. And then I decided to use these little gems. Now, these gems are the Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink gems, shimmer gems that are in our new catalogue. Actually, are they online? They might be an online exclusive. I'm not quite sure. This is all I've got left. Look, I've used up all but 3, and that was because I actually bought a second pack, which hasn't arrived yet, but I thought I was going to need a second pack for my swaps. I actually managed to used up all but 3 of them, actually 4 of them, and finished the swaps. So that was pretty good, but I still am glad I have another pack coming. There's also white ones with gold flecks through those as well. They're beautiful. They're my favorite new gems. I hope that Merlot's looking like he wants to jump up here. So if that happens, I'll have to give him the heave-ho. That's what I'll have to do. All right, so I'm just going to cut my little ribbon here, and we'll stick that back on because it looks a bit naked without the ribbon, I have to say. And we don't want a naked card. Merlot, he's grunting at me. He does that sometimes. He's a big grunter. And he snores too. All right. Okay. So that's how it looks with the black mat around. I, could have gone either way. They both look good. This one maybe looks a bit more layered because it's got that extra black layer. But I decided I preferred the softer. This is definitely a softer look without that extra black mat. And I made the decision to not do the black mat. It wouldn't have made a lot of difference in terms of time because it's quick and easy to cut the black mat. But that's what I decided to go with this one, but with the black writing. So that's kind of how it evolved. I did a few different mock-ups before I was really sure what I was doing. So this is the one we've ended up with. And I'm going to make one for you right now. So let's go. I'm starting with my pretty in pink card base. I'm going to fold that. This is half a sheet of A4. And I'm just going to use my bone folder and flatten that down and set that aside. Okay, so, all right. Okay, now, the first thing I did was I worked on the white base. Okay, so I've got a basic white base. This is 10 centimeters wide by 14.3 long. Okay, and the very first thing I did was, and I had a friend come and help me with this too, and I'm really glad she did because it meant that I was able to get them done ahead of time, whereas normally I'm doing them on the plane or at the airport or the hotel or something like that. But this year I actually got them done. So I wanted to use my beautiful favorite Elements of Text. This is not in a catalog. This is an online exclusive product. Okay, fantastic. If you are looking for do you guys remember Gorgeous Grunge? We had all those like splattery kind of things. This has got 2 things I love, splatter and text. Those 2 things together are like a marriage made in heaven. Just love. Okay, so I wanted to use this big one. I've already got it on my block here. Even though it's really hard to read, you're not really meant to be able to read it. You can still tell if it's upside down. So you do need to make sure that the T's are crossed at the top, not at the bottom. And, the eyes have got the dots above, that kind of thing. So I'm going to put that in that place. And I'm going to grab some Versamark ink. And we're going to emboss this. All right, so I've got my embossing buddy here with my embossing editions kit, which is just a fantastic thing. If you don't have one of these, they just contain everything and make it easy so you don't make as much mess. Fantastic. Love that. Actually, I'll move that out of the way. All right, and then I'm going to ink up my stamp here. Oops, it is upside down. You can tell straight away if it's upside down. Right, so the top is at the top here, so I can see that I've got in the right place. And I'm using my Versamark. Now, Versamark, for anyone who doesn't know, is clear sticky ink. Okay, and it is fantastic stuff. Right, now I put this down in sort of the bottom left-hand corner. Doesn't really matter if it's straight or not straight because it's going to be a background. You can't really see it. You can see a little bit of it poking out here and a bit of it poking out here. All right, so it is a background. And nothing really looks like it's happened, but if you were to hold it in the light, you might be able to see, or can you see the text kind of on there? We can almost see that. Anyway, you're going to see it when we add the powder, so just trust me. All right, and then I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to put that, I'm going to stand up to do this so I can get it up towards the top here, a bit further over. So it actually is going up on an angle. So the pattern starts down here in the bottom left corner and goes up here towards this top right corner. All right, so it's on there. Just believe me, it's on there. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is to add our embossing powder. And I got all my embossing powders and everything out before I started. What did I do with it? Now, it's meant to be clear embossing powder. Here it is. Stop looking. Clear or white is going to work on white. Okay, I use clear, but if you only have white, that will also work. If you're using it on a different color, it's going to give you a different appearance. But on white cardstock, clear and white will look the same. Oop. And just kind of dump it all over. All right. You just want to make sure it's all covered. And when you go to tap it off, I usually like it to slide down over there, so any bits that didn't quite get covered get plenty. Now can you see it? Can you sort of see it now? You're thinking, yeah, but it's still not very dark. That's okay. We haven't cooked it yet. All right. So I'm going to, am I doing this the right way? Hang on. Lefty, what is it? Righty tighty, lefty loosey. I've got to remember which way it goes. And then we're going to just tap that back into the tub. It's very, it lasts for a long time. So a little bit goes a long way. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm going to put this back on here. And I'm going to put the lid back on the embossing powder, because you don't want to leave the lid off that and accidentally bump it or dump it on the floor or have a cat sit on it, or, you know, any of those things. All right, so I'm going to grab my embossing tool, and you'll see a lamp come on because they're both on the same PowerPoint. And I'm going to get my embossing tool in here, and we're going to cook this. All right, so I'll just hold it there with my finger. You just don't want to get your fingers in the direct line of the heat, because it is very hot. Where the two stamps, or the same stamp twice, but where it has crossed over there in the middle, it's a bit jumbled, but that's not going to matter, because that's where our flowers are going to end up. So they're going to cover that middle bit anyway. So don't worry about that. So it'll take a moment for this to warm up. So what are the techniques? Well, the first one, obviously, is embossing. And then we're going to do some, let's see how many techniques we can see on here. Can you see it? So the first one is the heat embossing here in the background. Then we've got some blending with our blending brush. Then we've got some dry embossing and some sanding. I've used the two-tone cardstock and I've sanded that back to give that white effect. Then we've used the spotlight technique here, where we've coloured the main part of the flower but not the part that's in the background. That's the spotlight technique. And of course we've used our blends markers for our colouring. So there's a lot of technique in this. And that's why I thought this would work well for Technique Tuesday. So, nearly there. If there are any bits, just give it a good inspection. If there are any bits that are not shiny, you might need to go over them a second time. But that's looking pretty good. All right. Okay, take that out of there. And then just make sure it's up the right way again. Okay. And so now you can run your fingers over it and it's completely cooked. Can you see that we've got, you see the writing on there? It's a really nice background. It's very nice textural as well. You can feel the script under your fingers, which is lovely. So the next thing I did was I got myself a blending brush. So this is our next technique. And put the Versamark lid on. And I came in here with my Pretty in Pink ink, which is the matching ink for the card base. Remember, the card base was Pretty in Pink as well. And I started down here in the left-hand corner, and I started, so this is Emboss Resist, the name of this technique. So we've got embossing, but then we also have Emboss Resist. So there's another technique. And I'm kind of moving from that left-hand corner down the bottom there, more towards the right-hand corner up the other side. And I'm going to kind of come out a little bit more, because this blending is going to sort of poke out the edges. Can you see that? We've got it poking out down here, and we've got it poking out here, and so on. All right, that's looking good. All right, now we're at the stage where I'm going to actually get my embossed strip. Now I have already cut this piece to the right size. It's 13.8 centimeters long and it's 2.5 wide, or an inch, whichever way you like to go. One side, and if you can see this, one side is darker than the other. A bit hard to see there, but you've got the darker one here and the lighter one here. I went with the darker side facing up so that I would get more contrast when I sand over it with my sanding block. Okay, so this is the embossing folder that we're using. It is called the Damask embossing folder. And I'm going to, like I said, have that darker side facing up. The top of the folder is where the Stampin' Up logo, that's facing up. Okay, so then I'm going to put this into my cut and emboss machine. I just need, it's a regular folder, so it's not a 3D folder. You don't need the specialty plate. You just need to take out plate number 2, which is the thin die adapter. So you use the base platform and then the 2 clear plates with this in between. Okay, so I'm quickly going to run that through, which doesn't take very long at all. And then that's going to emboss that piece. Okay, let's bring that back in and open it up. And now you can see that it's beautifully embossed. Okay, it's a really nice folder, this one. I really like it. And I think it looks lovely with all those antique-y kind of things, but it looks nice with this too. All right, then I've got myself a sanding block. You can use any sandpaper. We did used to sell these once upon a time, and that's why it's got Stampin' Up on it. But any sandpaper will do. Run along to Bunnings or your local hardware store and just get a really, really fine sandpaper. So you don't want anything too coarse or you'll totally destroy the paper. You just want to go very, very gently. And I'm just going to take the tops off those embossed images. Okay, so because this is flat, it just goes on the top. It doesn't go on the base part at all. And so you can see a difference. Like I've done half of this and look how nice it looks. So these ones I haven't done yet. They're still the same pink, but the top looks beautiful. Doesn't that look good? Such a nice technique and very, very easy to do. And you need two-tone cardstock for this. All of our 12 by 12 paper now comes in two-tone cardstock, which I love. I love having that option. So I'm going to be putting that onto here. Now, because this is 13.8, it's a little bit less long than the 14.3 of the white, which means you can put it here on the edge and have a bit of a border all the way around. So let's grab some glue and stick that down. Let's see how we go. And I'm just going to pop that right there so that we've got that bit of a border all the way around. And it feels that after you've done that with the sanding block, it feels like velvet or suede. It's a really, really, it's like it's flocked. So it's really beautiful. All right, looking good, looking really good. All right, now before I do my flowers, the last thing I'm doing on the base, I did use, also from the Elements of Text, I used this little splattery stamp and I used it with and I did this after I'd done these pieces. You can do this before you do the, you stick this down if you want to. It doesn't really matter, but you can see here that I just wanted to have a bit of splatter at the top, and that's enough. Okay, we just want a few little bits of splatter that are going to come out from behind our flowers. It looks beautiful. All right, now in the Gallery Bloom set, let me grab this out. We have, I mentioned these before, these frame dies. Okay, and we've all got all these other ones as well. I'm not using any of these today, even though I really love them. I'm just using this one. This is the size of the piece that I used to cut this for my flower. Okay, so you just want a small piece of, you don't want a really big piece, because, I mean, if you want to, like if I used a bigger piece like this, I could cut out the whole thing and then I've got a frame to use for later. In fact, so you can see how it turns out, let me do that because it is exactly the right size. So let me run that through and I'll show you how it turns out. And I know when I'm pre-recording like this, it's as if it's alive. So I don't get to edit anything out. All my mistakes, everything is going to be left in there. All right. So for anyone who's wondering, this piece that I've just cut this out, see how it cuts out this, and you've got like a little beveled edge frame, which is actually really nice. I don't know if you can see the scored edges there. And look how close that piece of paper was. So how big is the paper? It's roughly, well, the paper that I started with was 9.5 by 13.8. So as if it was the second size down for a card front size. And then you've got this little frame as well, which I could use. These are fantastic. You know, you can use them later for something else. I have had a lot of fun with them already. Okay, this one here is the one that I'm going to be stamping on. All right. Now, while I'm at it, before I do that, I'm going to cut myself a piece of black. Let me see. And let's see how wide this is. I've got stuff everywhere. Why am I not how do people stamp nicely and neatly? I don't know. That's just not one of my skills. I don't know how to do that. All right, so this piece here, it's going to be 4.5 centimeters. This is the black piece I'm going to do by 8.8. Okay, so I'm making it 3 millimeters bigger than the white piece. So 4.5. Or is it going to be big enough? It might not be. Look, I've got this little bit here. It's just a tiny bit too small. I'll need to grab another piece. Oh, well. I told you it's like alive, where I get to make mistakes and all sorts of stuff. All right. Let's try that again. So 4.5 by 8.8. So it's 3 millimeters bigger on each side than the piece I started with, than the white piece. All right, so can you see how that's going to fit right there inside that? And it's important that this piece of black is not a lot bigger than our, I probably could have even come down another millimeter on that side, 4.4. Let's try that. I think that's better. All right. Okay. So now what we want to do, yeah, that's good. All right. Can you see you've just got like that little bit of a border all the way around? Looks good. Okay. Set that aside. This piece is going to go right here. So there's a bit of a gap in here and it's up towards the top there. Okay, a little bit of this pink and the splatter and stuff coming out the sides. And I'm just going to sit that there like that. Okay. Actually, I might move it a tiny bit over. But the main thing is that it's parallel with the sides. Okay. And I've got my Gallery Blooms stamp. I think they're peonies. That's what I think they are. They're beautiful. Some people might say maybe something else, but I think they look like peonies to me. What do you guys think? Do you think peonies? All right, so I'm going to use Memento Black ink and I'm going to well and truly ink this up. I want it to be very well inked, because if it's not very well inked, it won't work very well. All right, and I'm going to stand up to do this so I get it. And I want the rose going over the edge and I want the stem coming out the bottom. So I'm going to have right about there. And I'm going to make sure that I make really, really good contact with this. I do not want for it to not come out anywhere. All right, seems good. All right, so just rub over the back, make sure I got really good. And there we go. All right, so now you've got a little bit coming over here. You've got the stem down the bottom. If I was to put that back in, that's how that would sit. Can you see that? But what happens is when you stamp, the tiny bit of difference in height between the piece you're stamping on at the front and the background leaves a tiny, tiny gap. And that's what this is for. It's going to fill that gap for us. So we're going to get our Tombow or whatever glue you're using, and we're going to this is actually the only swap I have participated in. Like this incentive trip swap is the once a year swap that I do. Some years I don't do any other swaps at all. Sometimes I might, but I'm not a big swapper. I've got other things I need to be doing and I need to prioritize my time, but I will do swaps for this trip. For the trip I will. All right, so there we go. So now we've got this perfectly lined up like so. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to color in my flowers before you can actually, when I was putting these together, I actually did them by I put them in place first and colored them after. It doesn't really matter. So the colors I'm using for this, I'm using, oh, actually, I've just realized not all these colors are correct. So Pretty in Pink, and I also use Mossy Meadow, and I use Petunia Pop. They're the colors, those three colors. I know it looks like 6, doesn't it? But it's light and dark of each one. So the Petunia Pop is light and dark, the Pretty in Pink light and dark, and the Mossy Meadow light and dark. So I'm starting with my dark Petunia Pop, and then I'm going to come down to my Pretty in Pink. So you can use, for a bigger area, you can use the larger brush end. And sometimes you need to kind of make a judgment call as you're going along, thinking, okay, is that a leaf or is that a bit of the petals? You could go either way. Here I decided it was a petal and I coloured it in accordingly. So I've used the dark one. I'm now going to go back and do the edges with the light one. Then I'm going to come to my dark Pretty in Pink, and I'm going to use that. And I'm going to blend over the edges of that. So I am actually doing like proper blending. I'm not just... And then I'm going to finish up with the light one. Now I did also think that it maybe would look good with a little bit of Petunia Pop in the middle. And then we're going to colour the tops and blend it all together. Looking really, really nice. I do really love... I love these. I just think they're so pretty, these flowers. And I'd like to think they're peonies because those are one of my favourite flowers. If you don't want to use, like I've used dark and then a little bit of light, you don't have to. You could just go from dark to Pretty in Pink if you wanted to. And I think in some of my flowers I did do that. But it's kind of up to you. So I'm circling over the line where those two colours meet. And that helps them blend. And if you do it quickly before it has time to dry, that's why I'm only doing one flower at a time. So that, and you can use any water-based ink for your stamping. I've used Memento in this case, but you don't have to. You could use any of them. All right, so we go back to dark again down here. So I'm working on my third flower now. And that's a leaf, so I'm not going to touch that one. And then use a little bit of the lighter Petunia. And it helps to keep it nice and wet too. So I'm going around the edges. And then we'll go with the dark Pretty in Pink. And finally the light Pretty in Pink, which helps blend it all together. So when you use each color, go over the, the different edges of the different colors, and it helps to keep that blending action happening. They work by evaporation, these, and they're great. I love a good alcohol marker. Then I've got my Mossy Meadow, dark and light. So up to you. I use the thin ends for these because they're small. So I've got one up the top here. I've got this one here, and I'm going to do this one over here. And because it's such a small area, I'm not even going to worry about dark and light. It's not necessary. I'm going to come down here and do that leaf. Now, darker ones here, these leaves are getting a bit bigger, so you can, give them a little bit more attention. And let's see how we go. right there like that, maybe, and some dark color here. So once again, I'm moving fairly quickly so they will still be wet as I'm working on them. I can use the thin one again. Also having black around is really good. So if you go over the lines with any of your blends, no one will see because you're using black, so you can't see them on the black. So if you go outside the white edge, it doesn't matter. All right. When I'm colouring, it makes me want to stop talking, which some people might be thinking, well, that'd be nice, but sorry, I'm trying to remember to keep on talking while I'm doing a live video. All right, and that's it. That's all you have to do, just that bit of colouring. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to come here to the back, and you can use any dimensionals, or you can use black ones. So if you want to use the normal ones, that's fine. No one's going to see them. But I did have some extra black ones here, and I'm wondering what I've done with those. I put them down, but it doesn't matter. I'll just use the normal ones. But I think on most of my swaps, I use the black ones. I've actually ordered more black ones. Oh, there they are. Because they actually ran out. Like this is the last of my. This is the last. I knew I was going to run out, so I've ordered more. And I ran out of the minis. All right. So the nice thing about black, and they're like magic. When you take the backs off them, it's like, where did they go? They've disappeared. Right. So putting this on dimensionals and popping it up just gives the whole spotlight effect a bit of a wow factor. It looks really, really good. And so what you're wanting to do as you're coming down here is you're wanting to line up. Let's see. Lining up that bottom piece. Okay. And I just realized I've missed a tiny bit. So let me grab here my Pretty in Pink ink. I'm just going to miss that tiny bit at the top there. Something I've noticed about the Pretty in Pink, when it goes on, it's slightly more peachy. And as it evaporates and dries, it becomes more true Pretty in Pink. It's really interesting. So it gets less peachy as it dries. All right. So that's looking really good. Do we like this? All right, so the next step would be to do our greeting, and I just want to see what did I do with. I'm putting stuff everywhere again. Can't help myself. Here it is. Found it. I already cut one of these. This is from the Beautiful Butterflies dies. It's one of the most useful dies. It's this little guy here. I've still got it out from when I used it before. So it's the smaller banner in the Beautiful Butterflies dies. And so that's the one that I have used for this. But the stamp set that I'm using for this is the Beautiful Motifs one. And I use this Thinking of You here. You could also use just a note. That would be nice. That would fit nicely on this as well. And the hello, of course, would look nice as well. But I decided that Thinking of You was nice for this card. It would make a nice Thinking of You card. All right, so I'm going to pop that down there, grab my block and pop it on. And I used Memento for this. Like I said, I decided originally I'd done Petunia Pop and I didn't like it as much, but I think the Thinking of You in black looks better. All right. Now, it's really important to get this straight, and sometimes I actually had to do some of these more than once. Sometimes it's easier to stamp first and then cut after. Right, there's our Thinking of You. Yay, that one's nice and straight. Woohoo! And we're actually getting really close to done. Can you believe it? It's not a fast card, let's be honest, but and making, because I've ended up, this is actually my, not counting that very first couple that I told you were prototypes, not counting those, this is my 29th card. And I know I only had to make 26, but I always make a few extras to give to some special people. All right, so that is on there, looking good. Now, the gold ribbon that you saw me use earlier, I am going to use that again. It is absolutely stunning. I love this ribbon and so easy to tie as well. You saw me tie a bow with it before. So I'm just going to do another one very quickly. And let's pull those ends until they're looping the way I want them to loop. Sometimes I stick my fingers in the loops to make them puff out a little bit more. That can stop them from being, because I don't like it when they're really flat. I like them to be very loopy. There you go. That's pretty nice. And where did I put my scissors? Here they are. They're underneath my trimmer. And let's cut 1 and 2. And then I'm going to use my glue dots. And we're going to pop them right behind our bow. And I'm sticking it here on the stem of the flowers. And if the little tails are too long, just trim them off. Like that. It's great. All right. And so the last touch was the gems that I mentioned to you before. And I've actually, I've got 2 of the Pretty in Pink and 2 of the Strawberry Slush. I tried to keep 3 the same, but actually that one, yeah, that one's Pretty in Pink, and these 3 are Strawberry Slush. So I'll put 1 here, 1 here, just off the edge, and then 1 up the top here, because they're beautiful. All right, now I get to put on the card base. Where did I put the card base? Did anyone see where I put that at the start? Here it is. I just moved it out of the way. All right. So I'm going to apply my Tombow to the back. You could, if you wanted to, sponge right around the whole thing and say Pretty in Pink ink, but we're going on a Pretty in Pink base, so it wouldn't stand out all that much. So I decided to skip that step. You could put a white insert inside if you wanted to have a white insert. And there we go. There is my swap card. Another one made up and all ready to go. What do you think? Do you like it? I'm really happy with them. You know, every year, like I said, I always put a lot of time and energy into swaps. And so every year I feel like it's a bit of a labor of love. But every year I'm happy with them. But I think these are really great. And I think they show off that new Gallery Bloom set really beautifully. I use the beautiful motif set for the words because the Gallery Blooms doesn't have any. And these are both from the same suite. But I've been very, very happy to actually get them all finished ahead of time and have them all done before I get on the plane or before I find myself sitting with surrounded by glue and pieces of paper at the airport. And it wouldn't be the first time. That has happened before. Okay, so there you go. That finishes us up for Tuesday the 13th of May for the Technique Tuesday this week. I will be back on Friday evening with another sketch for you. So look out for that one. And then I will be back next week. Gosh, it's gone quickly, hasn't it? I mean, it does. I know this is silly because I'm pre-recording this, so I haven't actually left yet when I'm pre-recording, and you're listening to it while I'm away. But I just know the time is going to go, you know, it's going to go like that. It's going to be fast. And then it'll be home and back to reality. That's okay. It's still great to have holidays, right? All right, you guys. Well, thank you for watching me make my swap today. I hope you enjoyed seeing me make it as much as I enjoyed making it. And I hope all the girls over there on the trip that received them really love them. I hope that they're really happy with them. All right. So to finish up, don't forget, everything I've used today is available for purchase. Some things are in the online store and some things are in the actual catalogue. Most of what I've shown you today is in, or I think all of what I've showed you in today, except maybe the gems. I'm not sure about the gems. Maybe I should have a quick look while I've actually got my catalogue right here. I've just got this funny feeling the gems are an online exclusive. So they've got all the different bits and pieces, and gems are all together here on one page. So we've got iridescent foil gems, which are a little bit similar to the white ones. But no, those Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink ones are an online exclusive. So check those out. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already done that, and also to sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done that. So once again, here's my blog address, lookwhatimade.com.au. Head over there and let me know that you'd like to receive the newsletter, and you'll get those whenever I send them out. Usually I try and get them out once a week. So just depends on what else is going on. Occasionally, like if we have a special promotion or something, a flash sale, then sometimes you might see it more than that, but usually it's once a week. All right, you guys, have a fantastic day. Just switching back to me for a second. All right. Have a great week. I will be back on Friday night with another video for you, and then back in the country next week. So look out for that. Also, don't forget to check out my social media channels, because I will be posting photos of the trip while I'm away. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Bye.